Imagine an effect where two cards are selected and merged into one right before your eyes. Pretty impressive, right? But let's take that one step further. Picture the cards being signed and then merged together. Now here's the kicker. This card trick is completely impromptu. Boy. Alright y'all, so check this out for those of you who are curious. These are my very own Candace Supers playing cards, produced and designed them all on my own, available at the CardMechanic shop. Now for this card trick, we ideally need two spectators that are fairly close to each other, that have a strong bond or connection. We're going to have one of them shuffle up the deck, and they're going to hand it back to me, and now we're going to have two cards selected. So as I go through, I'm going to have a card selected from spectator number one. As I go through, they call it stop, let's just say right around here. They're going to take a look and memorize this card, okay? Take a look and memorize this card. It is the 3 of clubs. And you know, I'll do this. I'll have the spectator sign this card. Let's say spectator number one's name is Bob. So B-O-B. Gonna have that signed, and hopefully you can see the signed signature. I'm gonna let that air out a little bit. B-O-B. So what's the name? What's the name? B-O-B? Bob. That's correct. We're gonna take Bob's card, leave it right over here, and now I'm gonna take this, and now we're gonna give the deck a bit of a shuffle, and we'll have spectator number 2. Let's say spectator number 2's name is... What do you want? Spectator number 2's name is Ange. We're gonna have spectator number 2 select her card as well. So we have Bob in one hand. I'm gonna select the card the same way for, what's her name? For Ange, all right? So as I go through, she's gonna call it stop whenever she likes. So let's just say right around here. This one? No, this one? All right, let's just say that card right there. She's gonna take a look at that card, all right? You got that? And now, instead of actually having it sign the front, I'm gonna do something different. We have Bob sign the front. I wanna have Ange sign the back of this card. So we'll take this card, we'll have Ange sign the back. We'll leave this over here. And hopefully again, this shows up. All right, and that's not Ang, by the way, that's Ange. Take a look at that card. It's signed Ange. A bit difficult to see, but hopefully you can see that in the light and as it's reflected. Now our goal is going to try to be to merge both these cards, Ange and Bob. We want to merge both of them together because of their strong bond and connection, and that's the only way it's going to work, if they have that strong bond. So I'm going to maybe riffle through the deck and have that placed here. But before I do that, let me actually square up these cards as much as I can. We want to make sure they're on the same level, right? These are all squared up. I want to make sure they go in exactly perfectly squared up. Let's say they go in right around here. And this is how this is going to work. Check it out. I'm going to have Ange maybe hold the top of the card since her signature is on top. And since Bob's signature is on the bottom, I'm going to have Bob hold the bottom of the deck. So the deck's going to be sandwiched between their hands like this. And now I'm going to pull out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Just one card. Look at that. One single card with Ange's signature on the back and Bob's signature on the front. I mean, come on. That's wild. Are we on? What up, crew? It is Magic Monday, and this is your place to learn Magic, master your performance, and captivate audiences. Here are the deets. So almost 4 years ago, I did a collaboration with 7th Sense Magic on this channel. Shout out to my boy 7th Sense. He came up with this idea, and we collabed. And then one of my underground club members, shout out to Tristen, asked me to do a full tutorial on this effect. So I'm like, nah, forget about it. No, I'm just kidding, I didn't do that. So I took the trick, made it a bit more fun, and here's how it's done. Pun intended, rhyme intended. But wait, before I show you, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, get ready to share with all your friends, grab your favorite deck, and now, I dropped the deck. And now, let's do it. It is tutorial time, just to give you some technical background on this effect. I would say this is more of an intermediate level card trick, just because of the couple sleights that are involved. But I would not discourage anyone from learning it, because even if you're a beginner learning this, I think you'll still get a good skill set built by knowing some of these sleights. One more thing, I would say ideally in terms of audience, you probably want someone who is in a relationship or has a strong bond or is a good couple or something like that, just because it would reinforce that relationship, and it would just give them like really good vibes coming from you, as like you're trying to help them solidify whatever they got. So it's a very wholesome type of effect. So that being said, when you're first starting off, I take the cards right out of the tuck case. Of course, I love that it's completely impromptu. Hand it on over to one of the two spectators. Let's just say we still have Bob and Ange. So I'm going to hand the deck over to Ange because she knows how to shuffle. She's going to shuffle up the deck as much as she wants, and then I'll take it back. And once this is done, I'm going to have a card selected by spreading through the deck like this. And that's what I would recommend, having the card selected like this, and you'll see why in a minute. So as I go through, I'm going to have the spectator call it stop. Let's just say they call it stop here. I usually tap on either the deck on my thumb to square everything up. And then I show the face of that card. In this case, we have the 5 of clubs. You want to make sure you don't take this card off and have them sign it then. Have them sign it in your hand. So let's take this Sharpie right here. Don't worry, I have hundreds of these decks. I can sign away as much as I want. So let's just say Bob picked this card. We have Bob signed right over there. Hopefully you can see that. We have Bob signed his name. Let's just air that out. Here we go, airing. Once Bob has signed the card, you're gonna hold it back in your hand. I like to hold the deck in a bittle grip or more of a deeper bittle grip because the next move, or the first move you're actually gonna do in this trick, is known as the bottom glide, where instead of taking this bottom card that says Bob, you're gonna take the card underneath the bottom card. So the way that the bottom glide works, originally it's taught like this. You're holding the deck sideways and your 3 fingers are up top here, thumb is on the bottom, and you grip the card like this with these 3 fingers and move it back, revealing the card that's underneath, and then you take that card and put that on the table. Now, doing it that way, it just feels weird to me. Like I rarely would ever hold the deck like this. Again, completely up to you, but I usually hold the deck like this. This is a bittle grip with 2 fingers. I use 3 fingers, and I do the same thing. I deepen my grip, grab from the front here on the top, and my thumb here, as you can see, is on the bottom. Then I grip and I shift over. So you'll see, that was too many cards. I grip and I shift over. You'll see the card underneath being revealed there. And then all I'm doing is the exact same thing, taking the card that's underneath it and putting that down. Giving the spectator number 1 and number 2 the idea that the card that's here is the card that was signed by Bob, when of course we know, as pure magicians, that's not the case. So that card selected, we keep it on over to the side. You want to make sure your spectators aren't the kind that are just, oh, let me look, oh, that's the wrong card, haha. You want to make sure that there's some way, somewhere you can put the card or something that you would do that would not make them do that. So if you feel uncomfortable, you can always drop your tuck case on the card, and this way it would kind of instill in their mind that we're not going to pick up this tuck case and then take a look at their card. So yeah, once that's done, I'm going to just leave this face up because I know you guys would never do that. So we have the fake spectator selected card here, and the real one is on the bottom of the deck. So I'm going to put the rest of the deck right on top. And the next thing you want to do, at least what I like to do, is move this card to the 4th position from the top. Now that does take a bit of practice. I would recommend using the overhand shuffle for this. So the best way to do it is I do the overhand shuffle, and I have a full masterclass on that. I'll put the link on the screen, you can check it out if you want more detail. Overhand shuffle, and as I keep going overhand, as soon as I get to I keep peeling off here with my thumb until I get to the last card, and I throw that last card over. Of course, that last card is the card signed by Bob, my man Bob. Leave that right on top. And then there are a couple ways you can do this. You can either do another 2 overhand shuffles to control 3 cards to the top, or you can do what I did in my performance, is a riffle shuffle. Now this would take a bit more control, but I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm going to split the deck in half. I take the top half, move it to the right, take the bottom half, move it to the left. So I know the top half is here. The next thing I want to do is start riffling cards, and as I riffle, I hold back 3 cards on the left hand side. So you can see 1, 2, 3 cards held on the left hand side. I riffle the rest of these, then I riffle those 3 cards, and when I square everything up, of course doing the math, Bob is now 4th from the top. So you can control that any way you want. Like I said, the other control you can do, once the card is on top, you can do an overhand shuffle. You throw off a packet of cards, and then I count off, sorry about that. So Bob is here, then I count off 3, 1, 2, 3, do an in jog here, overhand shuffle the rest over, come back here, push down and forward, overhand shuffle everything until I get to that point. And again, Bob is 4th from the top. So whatever method you want to use, if you want to use a completely different method, up to you. That's what makes Magic so much fun. So many different ways of accomplishing the same thing. Once that's done, we're going to have the selection process the very same way with one minor change for spectator number 2, Ange. As I go through the cards, you're going to do the cull move, right? So as I went through the deck, I'm going to cull the 4th card from the top. And that's just, I did it at number 4 because that's the position I'm most comfortable culling in. So I push off 1 card, 2 cards, I push off card number 3 and 4 as close to 1 as possible. You can probably see right there. And then I cull that bottom card. I have a tutorial on the cull, put it on the screen, you can check it out. And I cull that bottom card like this. So again, they're as close to lined up as possible here. I keep my thumb pressure down and these fingers in the back pull that card out like this. And now as I go through the rest of the cards I'm spreading through, you also want to make sure it's not too high up, not too low down here. And make sure that cull is fairly smooth. You can kind of use your dialogue or talking as misdirection as you go through here. Pull that card, make sure it doesn't go top or bottom. and all the cards now you put are going to go right above it. When the spectator calls out stop, you're going to take the next card and put it over. So the other cards were all going underneath Bob. This card's going to go over Bob, right? So this, instead of going underneath Bob, we're going to go over Bob. And we're going to square everything up here. So now the spectator sees Ange is going to be like, oh, this is the 10 of diamonds. This is not Bob's card. There's no way. And we're going to say, you know, instead of having you sign the front of this card, we're going to have you sign the back. And as I'm going front to back, we're going to do the same thing, the bottom glide. So as I'm going front to back, I get into that bottom glide position that you can see here. And I slide out Bob's card. You see where I'm going with this? It's pretty freaking awesome. So we have Bob's card here, right? Mr. Bob. Ange don't know that. Bob don't know that. That's Bob's card. We're going to have Ange sign the back. A-N-G. Not Ang. Ange. Ange signs the card right there. Can you even see that? Right, so this card is signed. We put that on top of Bob's supposed card. And I square up, and I say I'm going to square up as closely as possible. Because now it really matters about the connection that you two have. We want to see if you can merge both of you together. And as you say that, you pick up the deck. And I like to just riff through the side and have this card inserted somewhere. And the main point of this insertion is to ditch this bottom card. And that's exactly what we do. So I like to grip the deck, I like to grip the card like this, right? So I'm kind of covering up the front a little bit, but I angle it towards them so they can kind of see the two cards. I like to flash again, they're two cards. Square everything up as close as you possibly can. And as you put it in, as I'm putting it in, I'm using my dialogue or talking as misdirection. And what I'm really doing is I'm pushing this card in. I'm using my index finger and middle fingers to push that card right in. It's a little difficult to see. Maybe I can show you from an exposed view here, but I'm pretty much going to the corner that's, I guess, that I can cover with my hand, right? And I'm pushing down on that corner until this card, I'm going to just expose it just to show you what's going on. But I'm pretty much pushing down on that card until it gets all the way in. What I would recommend when doing this push, I'm holding it like this. I have my index finger, middle finger, ring finger on the back of the card. My index finger and thumb are kind of pinching it on the corner. And as soon as it goes in, I start the pushing process, right? As soon as it goes in, I start pushing. And then my index finger of the opposite hand kind of comes and helps and pushes that card all the way in. The one thing you may need to practice is making sure the card, when you're pushing it in, it doesn't get exposed on the side that's out towards the spectator. So you don't want any of that happening. You want to make sure it's, let me square it up again, as close to square as possible. As you're pushing in, again, I'm making this face towards the spectator so they can see that. And I push that card all the way in, right? Push that card all the way in. And then, again, just to sell the effect more for presentation reasons, I have one person hold here, one person hold here. They can see Ange's signature right on the back. And then I just like to pull the card straight out. It just seems like it kind of melts through the deck or phases through the deck. And then you can say Ange's signature is on the back and Bob's signature is on the front. If they're not a couple after this, they're just not meant to be. There you go. Also, make sure to get these cards for yourself because I made them, not Ange or Bob, me. If you want to check out the original version from way back in the day. What's going on, guys? CardMechanic here, and today I have a super special collab video with 7 Sense Magic. Look how cute I was. You can click right over here. It's a super short video, so check it out. Thank you, love you, see you soon. Where's the deck? Drop.